So here's something unusual. I've got my microphone turned on during the Google Earth pre-show. And I thought I'd just explain a little bit about this for people who might be watching this video later and not aware of what this is. These are names and locations of people that are often in the chat room during a live stream. Oh, here's something. Okay, that was a mistake. I had one of my computers playing the sound from the video, and I've got that computer adjusted to a slow speed. So that was me sounding drunk. But anyway, these are people that often show up in the live chat or have actually been on the show with me as a guest for one reason or another. And I just thought it'd be a fun way to show the diversity of where people are around the world. I did ask people if they'd want to be on here, and I think I've only got people on there who either somehow implicitly or explicitly said yes. And let's see, coming up here, I think, yeah, Kevin Ranke right there. This is his debut. This is his first time on because he sent me an email. And that is the way to request to be added to this, is just send me an email, DougBetts@LiveWindowsTraining.com, and ask to be added to the Google Earth display. So I'll need your name or just your screen name if you don't want to use your real name, and your location, similar to the way that you see it put in here. And also, if for some reason, if you get upset with me, want to be taken off, then you can do that by email too. So it looks like we got a minute and 30 seconds left. I'm going to go on mute and come back shortly. Okay, here we are. Hello. So I see some people in chat. Hello to William Dawson, Tony Wallow, Sam Van Thiel, Catherine Anna Hauserman. Welcome. And let's see, I'm showing 5 concurrent viewers, so that's close to all, yeah, because I'm one. So I see 4 of you there. Then there's Tim Sowell. Hi, Tim. So just getting started here and saying hello to people. So I need AVDWGC check. Wait a minute, Doug, what's that? I've added a couple more letters, yes. So if you let me know in the chat, audio and visual, DVD, and then the other 2 are, well, watch. Okay, so the watch is on the desk. And then CG. CG is C for my CPU, check on my CPU performance, and G is to shut down the Google Earth display because I think that'll help. I had looked back on a couple live stream videos and found it to be kind of choppy, and I think some synchronization problems between voice and lips. So I'm actually closing down the countdown timer and Google Earth. So CPU, I saw it up to 40. Typically when I shut those down, it's still a little high, 37, 35, 39, 36. I'd like to see it lower than that. I've got my OneDrive paused. And 75, what happened? 34, 33, 37. Wow, bounced up to 70 some odd. I don't know. I've had some updates have come through from my streaming software. I might wind up having to bite the bullet and upgrade here. So let's see. Let's come over here and look at what we've got. So going on here, William started off with, before the stream started, Microsoft just being Microsoft. So that's referring to the subject of this live stream. Some hellos and Azure comment from Sam. Hi's, Catherine asking everybody to like the video, and thank you. Again, always count on Catherine for that. And let's see, Gary says, sounds good video, good, good, good. Did somebody check DVR? Sync is good. Yeah, I'm actually kind of wondering if there's a change of sync when you go back and replay it, because the last live stream that I did, if you go back and look at it as a recorded video, the last one or the one before that also maybe, is pretty significantly out of sync. And I've also looked at some of my tech tales, and they're out of sync. So I'm looking at that over. Okay, then there's Dan the Man, hi Dan, and Paul Lyons. Okay, so let's go talk about what this is about. I gave a title to this live chat regarding not possible to log into Windows with a Microsoft account for business. So I'm going to demonstrate that. And some of you already saw the genesis of my discovery of this in, I think it was the first tech chat live stream that I did, where I was working with one of these HP all-in-ones that I was putting the games on. And I tried to go into the Microsoft Store and could not log into it. And then somebody said that you got to use the Microsoft Store for business. Okay, and that worked. But then I had some other issues with these computers, and I got to thinking, well, you know what? Maybe I just have them log into Windows with the Microsoft account. And that's when I discovered I can't. And so I went through several different things trying to solve that, chasing down rabbit holes. One of them was that domain name for that client of mine, they started out with a personal Microsoft 365 account for one individual in the office. At the time, it was the general manager of that apartment building. I refer to as Mike Tango. And when we moved them to a for business account, every time we logged into her Microsoft account, we have the choice of, do you want the personal account or the work account? I did come across one documentation that said that may be the cause of the trouble I was having. So I went down that rabbit hole, figured out how to disassociate the personal account from the work account, and I was successful at that. We're no longer asked, which one do you want? But it still wouldn't work. So then I tried, well, for sure, another Microsoft 365 for business account would work. So I tried logging in with another one and found that I can't. So I'm going to show you some things about that and my intention here. I don't want to make this a very long live stream. I'd like to keep it to about half an hour. So I put the topic out there, and then people who are interested can check it out and try some things. And I'm actually going to offer a method that I can provide you with a couple of for business account names that you can experiment with. One of my thoughts was, I was wondering, did they make a change and maybe the older versions of Windows 10 were able to do it? So this computer right here, another one of these Dell microcomputers, this one's Lenovo, it's mine. This is for a client. So when I was installing Windows on this one, let's see. No, not installing. When I was first initializing it, I did not do a fresh install on that one because it doesn't have a lot of clutterware. I tried creating it with a Microsoft account and I had the same problem. So let's take a quick look here. More hellos going on, hellos to each other. Okay, great. Now, which one do I want to go to? Let's go to here. I am connected remotely. Before I do that, I'm connected remotely to this computer here, which is showing on that monitor, but I have a remote connection to it on my computer number 2. So that's where we'll work with this. And then let's make this stretch to window. So this computer is not signed in with a Microsoft account right now, and I'll show you that. Sign in. Come on. Change sign in requirements. That's not one. I want sign in settings. Isn't that what it's called? Oh, come on. Well, this gets me close enough. Okay, your info. Right here it'll show that this is a local account. The name of it is Staff 4 and it's an administrator account. So the first thing that we are discovering on these all-in-ones is that if I go to the Microsoft Store and try to sign in with a Microsoft for Business account, I'll blur the screen at certain points here. This is that resident account. And you know what I want to do? Let's do this. Let me just blur the part of that that's important. I have a reason to want to not be exposing my clients' domain names. I can explain that if anybody really wants that information, but I'm going to show this much. So if I, let's see, okay, I gotta go here and then split screen, workspace, split mode. Yeah, that way I can bring this up over here and I've got that one turned on, and then if I turn this blur off, so that blurs just a portion of that domain name, enough that you can see it's a valid name. Now, then, push that live. There it goes. So there you see the first couple characters of the email address or Microsoft 365 account in the last bit of it, and it is a .org address. And when I click on the next button, get the right mouse here. Let's see. Gonna have to get the right buttons here. Is that going to, I don't think that's gonna move. Yeah, it did. All right, so there we get this message. That Microsoft account doesn't exist. Enter a different account or get a new one. So it tells us that does not exist. That's not true. It does exist. I got to get better at this split screen business. Okay, so then if we go to the Microsoft Store for Business, we can sign in with that. I'm going to do a search for Microsoft Store for Business. I'm not happy with how this split mode is going to work. Okay, there. Microsoft Store for Business. Activate. Here's Microsoft Store. Business Store. And by the way, Microsoft has announced they're doing away with this. They're gonna shut down the Microsoft Store for Business in 2023, I believe it is. So we go to that. And then here, asking for an email address. Now, did that come to here? I'm going to try doing this blur here. Oh, I see what happened. That blur just disappeared. Oh, there it is. All right. So if I blur out a larger area, let's see if that works. Now, this particular client's not going to be too upset at that little exposure that I did a little while ago, so I'm not going to sweat it too much. But I'm still going to try to be diligent about this so I get better at doing this. All right, so there, I've typed in the address and clicked next, and then it asks for a password. If it asks for a password, it's going to work. The problem happens when it won't even get to the password prompt. There, I'm doing that wrong again. So let's go ahead and I'll get that password and we'll log into it, and then we're going to move on to actually what is the more interesting pieces of this. Come over here and here, and I got to see what that password is. There it is. All right. And then sign in. So that works. And it's texting a code to my cell phone. 486-817. Right? 486-817. Yeah. That code's not a secret. So it's okay for me to expose that. Reduce the number of signs you asked to sign in. I'm gonna say no to that because I don't really want to keep that for this computer. And that gets signed in to the Microsoft Store for Business. Okay, so that works. It's a valid Microsoft 365 account because I just showed that. But if I come down here to try to sign into that as a Microsoft account for Windows, right in here, if I say sign in with a Microsoft account instead, and then here, since I have this blur, I'm still on the blur scene, I can just come and do this. So that gets me that whole area. And then click next, and I get that same red message that it doesn't exist. So I have tried doing this during a fresh install of Windows. I get the same message. I've tried doing it when initializing, I told you about this computer here, initializing Windows 10, and then there's another place where we can demonstrate this. If I go to create a new user, family and other users, and then add someone else to this PC, if I do it here, I get the same problem. So, and I have tried this with other Microsoft for Business accounts with different domain names. Other clients of mine that have never had a personal account associated with the domain name, and I found it consistent all the way through. Anytime I'm trying to use a Microsoft for Business account, I cannot make Windows to sign in with that account. And so how will this person sign? Okay, then click next and get the same red message. This is not a Microsoft account. Now, if this is somehow the design that to sign into Windows you must use a personal Microsoft 365 account, then why doesn't Microsoft give a more informative error message here? They are saying this looks like this isn't a Microsoft account. I have proven here that is flat false. If I go to office.com, I can sign in with this Microsoft for Business account. Works fine. Then there's another place to go look at this. Over here, add work or school account. If I come down into right in here, I can add the work account here, but Windows is still not logging in with that account. Now that I've laid out the issue, let's go see what you're saying in chat. Gotta get back to chat. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, I saw Blackwatch. Blackwatch has sent me a couple emails today with things that he found on it, and thank you again, Blackwatch, for doing that. Let's see, not choppy, man. Interesting summary of the issue here. Okay, so we'll go look at that. So the domain name is not one of Microsoft. No, for Microsoft for Business, Microsoft 365 for Business, it cannot be Outlook.com or whatever the other Microsoft domain names are. Now, actually, I haven't confirmed this anywhere, but I'm going to say I'm going to have to say it's a presumption that I'm saying that it has to be a custom domain name for Microsoft 365 for Business, because the admin panel is so closely associated with the domain name. So you can't be Microsoft 365 for Business claiming to be Outlook.com, because you're not that business. So it can't be a Microsoft domain name when you're signing in to Microsoft 365 for Business. The proof of that, how would you prove that? Okay, the way to prove that would be to try to create a Microsoft 365 for Business account using an Outlook.com address or the other domain names that Microsoft has. I never use them, so can't even think of them. Microsoft account indeed does not exist because it is not a Microsoft account, is an domain.org account. I've had the same problem with .coms. I have several clients with .com Microsoft accounts, and it has the same symptoms. So it's not because of being an org account. May the gods of IT be praised. No more store. Yeah. Well, Microsoft Store for Business has gone away. They're still going to have Microsoft Store. It's going to be different for Windows 11. The Windows 11 store actually works pretty great, but the Win 10 one is just a bunch of garbage. Yeah, now I'm not actually complaining about the store now. What I'm complaining about now is when you try to sign on with a Microsoft account, complying with the pressure that Microsoft is putting on us to do it, you can't do it with a business account. So that means what? Do I have to have my business clients, if I want them, signing in with a Microsoft account because it is supposedly more secure? Do I have to create a personal Microsoft account for every staff member or use their own personal Microsoft 365 account? That just doesn't make sense. What edition Windows 10? I've tried it on Home and Pro. This computer that I'm showing you on now is let's go look over here. I believe that's Pro. WinVer. Yes, Windows 10 Pro. So Windows 10 Home, Windows 10 Pro, operate the same in that regard. Coming back to chat. Got to be Windows 10 Pro to enroll it with a business account. Nope, I'm sorry. That's it. That's Windows 10 Pro right there. Did not do it. And you need the access to work and school section. Okay, well, if you have to have the access to work and school section, then when you're initializing a computer, that means you cannot sign in with a Microsoft account because you can't access the work and school section until you've got Windows 10 up and running. So you have to be logged in to Windows with either a local account or a personal Microsoft account. And with Windows 11, we're told that for home, you cannot do a local account, but for business, you can do a local account. Wow, so Microsoft created a brand new operating system to fix MS Store issues. Now I'm impressed. On your info page, access Work or School Connect on the Set Up a Work or School Account dialog under Alternate Actions. Choose Join this device to Azure Active Directory. Now you're saying that you're required to use Azure Active Directory. None of my clients have Azure Active Directory. None of my clients have a domain server. And even if that's the case, that error message that I just demonstrated should be more informative along those lines. Not just saying this looks like this is not a Microsoft account. This is very restrictive to say that you have to use Azure Active Directory in order to, you can have a Microsoft 365 or business account, but you cannot use it for logging into Windows unless you have Azure Active Directory or a domain server. And where's the documentation for that? I did searches on Google and searches on YouTube for this error message and logging into Windows 10 with a Microsoft account. I did not find any documentation for that. So Sam, do you have documentation for that? And we'll go back and look at that link that somebody provided earlier. Perhaps Microsoft now enforces TPM in the sign-on. Yeah, I don't think that's what's going on here. Let's see, so here's got a link. You would use this section when signing in for the first time to log in with Azure Active Directory. I don't want to use Azure Active Directory. No. For small businesses, no, that doesn't make any sense at all to do that. So let's go, well, let's take these links in order. So I'll go up here to this first one that was given to us by Wintermute. So click on that guy. Now, did my chat stay here? Yeah, my chat stayed here. Just open. Understanding Microsoft Work and Personal Accounts. 2 different accounts, many credentials. Okay, so now this looks like pretty long, judging by this scroll box. So is there something specific? Oops, no, that's all comments down there. Okay, so the article ends here. That's still pretty long. Bit of maze, look through it, sign on. So I'm certainly not going to read this all out into a worker school account created by your IT department. Sign Microsoft personal account created by you. Logging into Windows 10 computer. Some computer somewhere decides whether you put in the right password and have permissions. Windows 7, when you set up Windows, strongly suggested with a Microsoft personal account. Strongly suggest that you sign in with a Microsoft personal account. Your Microsoft account opens up a world of benefits. Sign in for your personalized experience. Is that what they mean by, is that personal account? Well, if you're signing in with your own email address for your Microsoft 365 for business, that's still personalized because it's you. Your computer then checks with the Microsoft Personal Online Service to see if you're using the right password. Now, though, there's another option. We set up Windows 10 Personal Enterprise. This comes up before Microsoft account sign in. You won't see this computer. Okay. If you or your IT identify the computer owned by the organization, one of the options to log in with a Microsoft Work account. Okay, so here's documentation. I accept this as documentation on bruceb.com. How about documentation on Microsoft.com? Who's bruceb.com? I don't know. So, but it sounds like this is on the right track. Still, that error message should be more informative. I don't know how to make that statement any clearer. Microsoft is horrible with clarity of communications, lack thereof. Let's see what we got here. How would you like to set up? Personal use setup for an organization. We'll help you set up with a personal Microsoft account. You'll have full control over this device. Set up for an organization. You'll gain access to your organization's resources. Okay, so that's if you click to create an account. Is this during the Windows 10 initialization? I want to say that I tried creating a new account during that initialization, but I recognize this screen. Is this during creating a Microsoft 365 account or during the Windows 10 initialization? I guess that's all this is here. It's just a screenshot. I don't know what this screenshot was from. But I recognize this. I just can't say where I've seen it. I'm thinking that it's when you're... It looks like a screen that happens during Windows 10 initialization. Do these people have local Win 10 accounts? Well, I'm discussing an issue here rather than these games computers. Okay, well, to your point there, Blackwatch. One of the reasons why I want these resident computers to sign in with a Microsoft account is because when I went to pick them up, somebody had already associated the account with their personal Microsoft account. Therefore, in order to log in to Windows, you had to have the password for that person's Microsoft account. So my theory is that if I set it up with a Microsoft account that they're logging in with just using a PIN number, so they don't even know the password for that account, then that's going to prevent someone else from essentially taking over that computer. Now, that doesn't stop them from adding their own account to that computer, but what will stop that is the freeze software, time freeze software that I'm using on those computers. Azure Active Directory does make sense for small businesses because AAD is free for Azure. It adds a level of complexity that the people in the office aren't going to have any idea what Azure Active Directory is. I think it can make sense for some small businesses. I don't see any reason to add that level of complexity to my clients. And I'm not wanting to have my business clients log in with a Microsoft 365 account. I'd rather them log in with their local user accounts. And they're generally, a lot of them are connecting to a peer server, not even a real Windows server. Yes, in the OOBE. Out-of-box experience, I think there's another definition of OOBE. It's not out-of-box experience. It's it's starting it up. Catherine, yes it is. Okay, yes it is. I don't know what that's referring to. That's only during install, after Win 10 install, during install of Windows. Carrie never sets local accounts at install, nor do I. Carrie never sets local accounts at install, nor do I at operating system install. He always does local accounts. He never does Microsoft 365 accounts. He always uses local accounts. I don't understand what you're saying there. These PCs are already used. These PCs are already used. Okay, but I've reformatted them, reinstalled Windows from fresh, so I don't know what that's referring to. Chavi Manor, hello, good to see you. And it was Chavi that got me turned on to the time freeze software that I mentioned shortly ago. And Tony, hello. Kerry uses local accounts. He never does Microsoft accounts. Yes, agreed. Yeah, you will present it with a screen for a business account after install, but you need to have them hooked up to the internet. After a install. Yeah, Sam, I'm not. My experience isn't jiving with yours. I think you might be in a corporate environment. I don't know. You'd be presented with a screen for a business account after install, but you need to have them hooked up to the internet. So if I do a Windows initialization connected to the internet, and it wants me to sign into Microsoft account, it has to be a local account. I cannot use a Office 365 for business. I messed up. Doug meant operating system installed, no internet connections, and local accounts. Yes, that's it exactly. Don't have a computer connected to the internet. It's easier then to set up a local account. Okay, so we've been a little over half an hour here. Mainly what I wanted to do during this live stream was to get the issue out there. I think I've gone far enough with this. I've got these links that you guys have provided. I'm going to go back and look closer at them. This one up here, I think, no, that's the PNG. Which one? Oh, this was Microsoft Docs. This one was set up enrollment. Oh, maybe I didn't go back and look at this one yet. Set up enrollment with Windows devices, automatic enrollment, CNAME registration, multi-user. So I was now Azure Active Directory. Okay, I'll look at this, but for these games computer, I'm certainly not going to do that. So here I have an easier solution for these computers. Now let me review with you. I don't need them to use Microsoft. They're not even going to use Microsoft Word or Outlook. They're not going to use email. The only reason why I was interested in having these sign on with a Microsoft 365 account is to prevent the other residents from signing on to their Microsoft 365 account and inadvertently converting the computer to use that account. Because to switch back to a local account, I have to put in their password, and I can't do that. Well, now the time freeze program is gonna be a piece to help with that, but I've got a solution I like better for that. Because another problem that I was facing with these computers is that these are 5 computers for 2 different of the apartment buildings that I report about during Tech Tales. They have different domain names. These computers are for the residents who live in those apartment buildings. The building is required to provide computers for them to use in the community center. So what I'm figuring, what I originally started doing was to use a name that had 2 letters to identify the apartment building and the word resident at, and then their domain.org. The problem there is that if I'm cloning to the other computers, now I've got the computers in one building using the domain name from the other building unless I change that. Well, I think a much easier, slicker solution is I'll create a Outlook.com account, something like resident@outlook.com, and I'll put some probably 6 characters because there's actually 3 of these buildings. These computers only belong to 2 of them. The third building might eventually get their own. So I figured I'll just do 6 characters, the 2-letter abbreviation or acronym for each of these sites, the word resident at outlook.com, and that's going to be across all of them as a personal account. I don't care what happens with email on those. If they get into the email portion of that and do things, I don't think I'm concerned about that. I could probably take actions to to deal with that another way. For my business clients, I have absolutely no interest in figuring out how to get them to log in with their Microsoft 365 accounts. In the back of my mind, it exists that maybe later on down the road that might become attractive as a better security. So far, it isn't causing us any pain to not have that. It's much simpler to be operating the way that we are. So here's my request to the people in chat now and the people who watch this video afterwards, is if you find other documentation about this or information about it, I would welcome you sending that to me. So I've got 3 links here, and I asked for Microsoft documentation, and that's what Sam provided. Sam really seems to be up on this. So Sam, I thank you for this. I will look through this to improve my education on this, but I still come back to my criticism for Microsoft when I try to sign in with a for business account, being a person who doesn't know about this. The error message should be more informative. That is, I can't say it's the dumbest thing that Microsoft has done, because there's a stack of them. I like Microsoft. I'm a fan of Microsoft. I'm team Microsoft, but some of the bonehead things they do, how can they be pushing so hard at getting people to log in with a Microsoft 365 account? But if they do it with a for business account, an end user, for instance, at an office, if they put that in and they get told it's not a valid Microsoft account, and what's that person going to do? They're going to then try to figure out what's wrong with the account name that they put in, or is their password wrong, or is their account been hacked? That's just bonehead stupid to have that error message. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this video up. I'm going to take a last look at chat, and then we're done. So say your last comments and goodbyes. And so you can log in with the business account. Okay, MSVPs do not seem to have a clue either. Well, you know, that's a good point, because I've seen this in the Microsoft forums with really uninformed responses. Nobody in my research came up with this thing that Sam did. That looks like it's informative, but it still doesn't answer why we get that error message. In that case, you need to create all that users in the AAD you want you to use in Windows. Yeah, no, we don't want to do that. I'd have to put all the users from that organization. No, I'm only interested in Microsoft account for these residents, and we're not using any of those services. So no way. Conclude all MSVPs remain inclusive, or use one local account. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do here, one local account. Sam, should all of this be so much more simpler? Yes. Tony says bye. Nope. Told them the same for PC Health app for Windows. I think that's about the boneheads. You got to dug boneheads. Hi, everyone. Hi, Darren. We're just wrapping up. We're done. I'm sorry, you're going to have to go back and rewatch. Catherine and others did too. All right. So that's it. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in. Tomorrow, tentatively, but I expect Bertland at his usual time, and on Sunday, Jason at his usual time. And I think I may be addressing some questions that have come in email on those, so that they can both do some more work on their tech support chops. And I've also got an idea about a couple other short live streams that I'd like to do, but those may hold off till Monday or Tuesday. So have a great weekend. For those of you that are going to be in the live stream later this morning, Carrie Holzman's. Oh my God. Too much going on in my brain right now. Please don't be offended, Carrie. I hope that you enjoy that, and I'll catch you later. Have a great weekend. Goodbye, everybody.